Hi everybody, Dan Illman, Matt Birney are taking a look back at last Saturday's Grade 2 $900,000 Rebel Stakes, an important prep for the Kentucky Derby. They break from the gate, and Todd Pletcher, he's doing very, very well at Oaklawn. He has another undefeated 3-year-old. Malagassi's going to get right outside the pace setter uncontested.
A little bit washy during the early stages here and loading into the gate, but like you say, he takes up a really nice position. No one can complain with where he's positioned at this stage in the game. Now the question becomes, how fast are they going to go? Because you know Uncontested has good early speed.
Uncontested is out there on the lead, the gate-to-wire winner of the Smarty Jones Stakes earlier at the Oaklawn meet. He's in front. They're going a solid pace, 23 for the quarter, 47 for the half. And Malagasy, this is his first time around 2 turns, his first time facing real horses, and he's settling comfortably enough in second.
Yeah, again, at this point in the game, if you backed this horse, you had to be pleased. Really, at this stage, you've got no one else that you're too worried about. You see Royal Mo trying to make a move on the far outside. But really, the question at this point comes down to, can this horse, Malagasy, see out the distance?
American Anthem, very, very wide on the outside. He is running along in 5th position right now. Reports were after the race that he lost a shoe.
I don't know that I want to pin that as the excuse here. He didn't do any running.
They're starting to run right now. Malagasy is making his run outside of Uncontested. Down towards the rail is Petrov, a horse that's done some really good work at Oaklawn. He's in behind horses. This was the scenario that a lot of handicappers that fancied Petrov wanted. They wanted someone else to pressure Uncontested. He's down inside. He just lacks a little fire late.
And I wonder if it's the distance, because, boy, he got a beautiful trip in here. He just can't finish.
Untrapped for Steve Asmussen is looming outside Malagasy, who has made the front and put away Uncontested. Untrapped is solid. He's trying hard. He just can't get to the winner, and a big long shot's going to eventually rally for second. That's Sonneteer.
Yeah, you see Sonneteer shooting up the inside. You see Petrov between the horses, Untrapped on the outside. Silver Dust, a little bit of a move late. None of them are any match for Malagasy. The horse with the best trip, I think, ultimately won the race. And you can make the case that this is a very lightly raced horse, and possibly the ceiling is unlimited. The question now becomes, what do you think of this race? Because the fig came back a little light.
Only a 91 Beyer speed figure. Malagasy is by classic winner Shackelford, who stands for $15,000 stud fee at Darby Dan Farm. He's a half to a stakes place sprinter named Classy Gem. The dam's a half-sister to Impossible Time, who is the champion handicap mare in Canada. 91 Beyer speed figure. It's still relatively early, the middle of March, but usually we're used to seeing horses pop 95s or more.
Yeah, he's going to need to improve, and you know, it is relatively early, but then again, it's not that early. We've got about 6-7 weeks until the first Saturday in May. He's going to certainly need to move forward, but the fact that he's only raced 3 times, he's in Pletcher's care, you got Javier, you'd like to think he's going to move forward.
Shackelford adds some stamina certainly to this pedigree. A lot of sprint and middle distance influences on the bottom. We saw him weaving a little bit in the stretch, drifting in very late. Distance might become a little bit of a concern for this horse, but he's lightly raced, and it's nice to see that he's got that tactical speed where he's not speed crazy, but he can get a good, comfortable spot as he did in the Rebel.
Always makes a horse a player when you have that ability to sit kindly, where you're not pulling, you're not trying to get to the front. If you relax just off of a target, it's always going to make you a player.
Arkansas Derby looks like it's the next spot for Malagasy. That race is on April the 15th. We'll see if he can stretch his speed to 1 1/8 miles. Sonneteer was 112 to 1 in this race for Keith DeZormo, a horse that has run, what, 7 or 8 times in Southern California without winning any kind of a race. He picked up the pieces. He was running at the end of this race down towards the rail. Is this horse all of a sudden finding himself, and can he have a puncher's chance if he shows up in the gate for the Kentucky Derby, or is the fact that he runs second in this race sort of an indictment on the rest of the field?
I suppose anytime you are actually locked into the starting gate like this horse now seems to be based on points for the first Saturday in May, sure, he has a puncher's chance. I look at it and say, I know Sonneteer, and maybe he's wanted to go longer and longer all along, and Keith DeZormo was very, very confident coming into this race, and he was rewarded. He also got an incredibly good trip from the back of the pack. He shot up the wood. He had no adversity to overcome. I look at that and say, how can I get that excited about a race where a 112 to 1 maiden, who I know what he is, he had never Beyered higher than 77 before this race. Now he jumps to an 89. It makes me sort of wonder about everyone else.
Untrapped, tried to go with the winner on the turn. He flattened out just a little bit. This is a solid horse. He had run a very nice race in his prior effort in the Risen Star at the Fairgrounds, but I'm beginning to wonder if he's going to be able to continue his rally at longer distances. I think he might be a miler at heart, but he seems to be going the right way for Steve Asmussen. The question is he good enough?
Yeah, if they decide to stay the course and go on to the Arkansas Derby, we'll find out if he can see it out. I think he's going to be shorter and do better going shorter. Let's find out. If you run him in that 9-furlong race for $1 million and it doesn't work, you turn him back Pat Day Mile on Derby Day.
Petrov not embarrassed, beaten a couple of noses behind the winner Malagasy. A good enough performance, but again, that kick was just lacking late, and I kind of have the feeling he wants shorter distances.
Agreed. And I think you're going to see a lot of these horses, not just in the next race, whether it is the Arkansas Derby or whatever else, but I feel like the next 2 or 3 starts, they may all be running against one another when they finally do turn back, whether it's the Pat Day or the Woody Stevens.
Not surprisingly, Looking at Lee was taken well at the back of the pack. He doesn't have any speed. He picked up some tired horses at the end. Steve Asmussen believes the longer the better for Looking at Lee, and he's eyeing a race like the Bluegrass at 1 1/8.
You know, I understand. Here I am saying I wonder about everyone else. There's something still here with this horse, I think. I don't know that he's going to win a classic, but you just look at the way that he ran on at the end. Like you say, past tired horses. He had a little bit of trouble where he had to sort of alter course. He's starting to feel a little bit like Creator to me. Maybe he doesn't have the big late kick that Creator did, because we saw when he finally got rolling, he was a handful. I wouldn't give up on this horse underneath in exotics if we're thinking Derby.
Prior to Uncontested's disappointing 6th place finish in the Southwest, trainer Wayne Catalano had mentioned, well, I wasn't able to really tighten the screws on him due to weather-related issues. No excuses from that standpoint this time around. Several bullet workouts leading up to this race. He was able to get to the lead. He seemed to relax very comfortably on the lead, but when the winner came calling, he had nothing.
Distance. I mean, this is 2 races in a row where at turning for home, he looks like he's in a good position and he just comes up completely empty. He's another one turning back.
And now the California contingent, they didn't run very well. 9th and 10th for Royal Mo and American Anthem, respectively. Royal Mo, the winner of the Robert B. Lewis Stakes, I believe, last time out. Got a very comfortable lead in his last 2 races in Southern California. This was the acid test in terms of class and also in terms of whether he could sit off a horse. He did not pass the test.
No, he didn't pass either test. I don't know that he can sit both of his wins outright on the lead. I didn't love him coming into this. Didn't think he was anything special. I have no reason to change that feeling coming out of it.
Bob Baffert won 6 of the last 7 runnings of the Rebel. He had the favorite in here in American Anthem. We saw that he was very wide on the backstretch. Maybe he lost his shoe and maybe that bothered him. The lack of punch is disconcerting. Perhaps he shows up in the Santa Anita Derby.
Yeah, perhaps. And even if he does, you got to think long and hard, because he didn't do any running here. Maybe the shoe was the issue. Maybe he didn't like the racetrack. This is a horse he's still very lightly raced. You can make the case that, you know what, maybe he just had a bad day. I don't want bad days this late in the game, because we've only got 1 more race before you go on to the big dance. This, to me, I was incredibly disappointed with this effort. I thought he was terrible.
I know you have a lot of questions about this race. You're not really convinced that this is going to be the strongest Kentucky Derby prep. Let's just talk about the winner. Yeah. Undefeated, good tactical speed. He's got the connections, obviously, with Pletcher and Castellano. He passed the 2-turn test. Where does he stand among the leaders of this division? Because as you've mentioned several times, there's just a lot of instability here.
Yeah, boy, it changes week in and week out, doesn't it? I kind of look at it and say, if the 2-turn race from him is going to be a low to mid 90 even. Right now, he's just not good enough. But you have the benefit with a horse like this of saying, okay, well, you're going to get another 2-turn race into him, and then another 2-turn race, and he's already got his points that he needs to get into the Derby. I don't have him near the top 5 right now. I would say he's probably a fringe top 10. I just don't love the notion of him going 1.25 miles. I still wonder if distance is going to be a problem for him. But he's lightly raced. He has proven connections. I wouldn't fault anyone that said that they like the upside.
Todd Pletcher right now, he's got the numbers. He's got Tampa Bay Derby winner, Taprit. He's got Southwest Stakes winner, One-Liner, also undefeated. And now he has Malagasy, 91 Beyer speed figure winner of the Grade 2 Rebel. Arkansas Derby next at Oaklawn on April 15th.